Records course, part of the Spiritual Guide Certification Program. Great to see everyone. I'm Philip Montrose with my wonderful wife and partner, Jane Montrose, and this will be an exciting continuation. We actually had an online um, introductory overview class last week, which is in your resource section, and we'll kind of point things out along the way that are in your resource section. And in that overview class, we talked about what the records are. We'll go more into that today. And Jane gave her story, which was kind of a remarkable story, which she learned in the records. We talked also about how the soul exists at different dimensions, and all of that we'll continue to explore. And it's nice that we'll have some time to add information, processes along the way with oracles and healing with the Akashic records, and some time for comments and questions. That's why this course is a little bit longer than just a short course, because we want to allow depth and exploration so you really make it your own, because there's such amazing things, as some of you already know, that you're going to discover about yourself that you can immediately put into practice and use for a lifetime. And so you may want to take some notes too, even though this is recorded. And a note about attending live, which I congratulate you all for being here live. And I know some of the people who have enrolled are not here live for one reason or another. Why is that? Well, if you are live, you have a certain presence, a certain engagement with the material, which may or may not occur if you're reviewing it. And it's fine if you miss one and you want to review it, that's good. So it tends to heighten your focus and intensify the learning. So, I mean, if you can't make it live, certainly review it for sure. And so anyways, that's a recommendation, if possible, to attend as many of the classes. And next week is a lab, so there's practice labs. By the way, when we have labs, there will be also new information as well as time to practice the processes that we're sharing. And another point in mind is what we're doing, just sort of as an overview of the course. As you may know, I'll put up this little Venn diagram that we created here, that the course has these three interlocking, interpenetrating components: Akashic records, oracles, and energy healing. They work like a charm. They help you connect with your deeper self. It's really a recipe for expanding your life, your journey, your soul's awareness, and going deeper into the mysteries and understanding a lot more. And as you connect with these different components that are working synergistically together, you're going to be able to go deeper into the processes of each of them, and they work, as I said, really well together. And that's going to help you open more to your true identity as a magnificent being, because at a higher dimensional being, where we have this tremendous resource of our higher self, our souls, as you all know, and the idea is to connect what we're doing, quote, down here in this lower dimension, or earthly dimension, and starting to trust and access more of the higher dimension, which the whole program is designed to open you up to and accelerate. And it's going to raise your vibration in the process every day and in general. And it's also going to boost your intuition tremendously. And as I mentioned, there's going to be time in the class for comments and questions as well. So that starts us with some important points about the Akashic records. Jane?
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Before we start that, we usually start our time together just by taking a moment out to breathe and to bring ourselves into the moment a little bit more. And I also want to do that while inviting Archangel Metatron to join us, as we've mentioned before in the introductory classes that we did, that he is the keeper of the records, and he's also a vast, magnificent archangel, the one who is considered to be closest to our creator. So he's very powerful, and he's the person. He's the angel who actually he's
that guy up there.
he's the one who introduced me to all of these things, and so I'm very grateful for him. And also just would welcome his support. So we can, if you wish, along with me, to invite Archangel Metatron to join us. This is always optional for everyone to decide what and who they want to invite into their space. Just inviting him to surround us with his divine love and breathing in, just breathing in some of that love. And exhaling, just releasing any energy that you don't need right now, letting go. And as you breathe, feeling yourself more in your body in the moment. And I feel him welcoming us, like he's spreading his wings and hugging us all, which is very beautiful. This is a good place to start. This has changed me since I really met Archangel Metatron just about 3 years ago now. That my whole life has has changed, actually. And now I feel a deep connection with, as Philip mentioned, that magnificence within myself, which we all have. And I feel, and I have felt for many years, that we're all here to bring spirit fully into form through us. Like, that to me is one of the most important gifts that we can give ourselves in the world right now. So going into the records, as Philip mentioned last week, I went through a pretty long a description of my story, and it's actually just part of the story that has changed me. Just following my path all the way back to Atlantis, many different lives that I've had along the way, and many learnings and experiences, obviously. So for me, this is one of the very important parts of the records, is that we can learn so much more about who we are. And it's so exciting. I hope that it's as exciting for you as it is for us, because every day Philip and I are talking about what's happening, and there's just so much available if we access our full range of resources, which is what Archangel Metatron invited me to do, and why we have this course. Because having the resources of the records and the angels and the oracles and all of these different things can brighten our lives in really fabulous ways. As I mentioned just briefly earlier, we are actually going into the records today after we complete some preparations, which to me have been essential. There are some points that I think if I had not been aware of them, I could not have gone through the experiences that I did successfully. So we'll be talking about those things. And it's really like going into the unknown with a map when we're going into the records. You want to have the proper attire and supplies. That would be the comparison in 3D. But our resources here are mostly internal tools for traveling into really the higher dimensions of reality. And as I mentioned before, my experience of it, and I've read different things. Some people say, well, the Akashic records exist in the 5th dimension. Some say in the 7th dimension. Some say that the Akashic records are located in the Pleiades, which I think is very interesting, because actually I think they're here. It's more of a vibration than a place.
Yes, it's everywhere.
But it is, yeah, it is. There are different dimensions to it, and my experience of it was first entering into it in the 6th dimension, and then moving into the 8th dimension and the 10th dimension. It is, like I said, people have different ideas of these things, but for me, that's part of the map, is understanding that as we are able to raise our vibration, we're able to reach into higher levels of the records, which means we have a larger range of resources available to us. There's more information and a broader view of reality that we're connecting with. So we're connecting with higher frequencies of love and light in our heart, which is, you could say that the heart is like the brain that receives and processes the information that comes to you in the record. So just that simple thing we did, connecting with love. And in the meditation, it's a pretty short visualization process we're going to do to enter the records. It's about how we can raise our frequency, and then we can meet with the angels when we're in those higher vibrations, and travel together into this mystical place that is unique also for each of us. So the things I think that are so important, and we'll also talk about these a little bit in the journey to the records, is having a pure intention, like purity in your heart. It's not about feeding the ego. It's about feeding the soul. So it's a pure intention to read truth, to receive healing, activations of energies. We might receive light codes. We might just receive downloads of energy. There are so many things that happen, and you just never know what's going to happen next. And that's part of the really amazing part of it. Another thing, and this was a big one for me, and it still is, I think, not as much though, trust in the process with an openness to believe what you're being told, because it's going to challenge your beliefs. If it's anything like what we've experienced, you're going to be told things that really seem unbelievable. And
Yeah,
I did talk about that last time. What was that?
And just an insert too. Some of it will be challenging, and some of it will just be very confirming. So it's going to be a balance of things. It's not all going to be, wow, this is amazing. I've never thought of that, although some will. But some of it will be, oh yeah, I knew that. That makes sense. Yeah, now I get it at a deeper level. Confirmation.
And it's all good. It's all good. It's not that the things that I was being told were challenging because it was horrible and I had to accept this horrible person. I think for all of us, what we're doing is we're breaking this illusion that we have of being limited. So the truth is that we're much more than we think we are, and that we can even fathom that we are. That's the part that has been most challenging for me. So it is having that willingness to believe. And at the same time, it was interesting because when I was starting to go through all of that, I happened to watch or listen to an audio with a person who was a psychic, and she was talking a lot about how she would receive information and she would ask for proof. And so I thought, well, that makes sense. I'll just ask for proof. So now if I doubt something or question something, I always ask, well, can you provide proof? And the funny thing is, more often than not, what they'll do is they'll tell me, just go onto Google. and I'll search for whatever it is. And I think it must be part of the synchronous flow of the universe or something. Generally, something will come up that is a validation, like pretty close to the top. And I don't know how that is. And it's not always, but I've learned a lot on Google through all of this. And I really appreciate that. So that's important. Also, I think that we have to be careful, just on a physical level, with things like what we consume. And just to mention, alcohol, having alcohol can affect your vibration. And it's generally recommended that you not have any alcohol maybe 12 to 15 hours before any use of alcohol, 12 or 15 hours before you attempt to go into the records. And I would say that for connecting with angels and masters too. And of course, it might be longer depending on how much alcohol you have. We have very small amounts of alcohol, but we do have some alcohol. And I haven't found small amounts to be a problem. One thing that personally and this is my own perspective on it, is I think that drugs are very dangerous. And we've had an experience with a person who was very close to us, who was using drugs to great higher states and ended up, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but really being haunted by a, a spirit who claimed to be her higher self, but was not. And having drugs can create holes and rifts in your energy field. I just think natural works. And people do have different opinions. There are people who use drugs for spiritual purposes. I just think it's very dangerous. And that experience for me was, it was very, really sad for her because she changed into a completely different person. And it, it was because of the drugs. So, and just a couple of more quick points. We mentioned this before for those who were in the introductions. And I think we've mentioned it in other courses too, in the Angels course too. Always have your journal handy or have some way to record your experiences into audio. I think that for me, I record I use Microsoft Word, and I just use the record feature. What is it called? I forget.
The voice to text.
Dictate. They call it dictate.
Dictate.
You dictate, and it doesn't come out perfectly, but it's good. One thing I've noticed is that sometimes you're in a different state. Sometimes right. I've forgotten everything. I'll go back to something the next day, and it's like, wow, I forgot the whole thing. And one of the important things, in addition to having the experience of going into the records, is to integrate what you're being told. Because you can't just continue receive without actually taking it in and bringing it into your reality. So it's more important, we say quality is more important than quantity. It's not just about continuing to to ask for more when you haven't absorbed or taken in what you've already received. And I think both of us, we talked about this with oracles too, just generally. I do forget a lot of times, or I don't get the message fully. I come back the next day and I say, wow, I didn't really quite understand that part of it. And that's very common. So and even today, have a notepad ready so that you can log down and make notes of the most important things you experience. Because when you go back, you may be surprised that you have forgotten things, or it doesn't hurt to have a reminder and then just to be able to review it in your mind so that you can integrate it properly. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
There was one more really quick point I wanted to make. We also, in addition to our history, there are so many things that you can explore, but I wanted to mention the idea of star seeds, because so many people, the last time we taught this course, so many people were interested in that idea of star seeds. And you can find information about it in Awakening to Your Magnificence, Chapter 2. We're from the stars. Like I said, the information about that history is only part of my history. And so many of us have actually understood that I understand myself as having come from Sirius. And I actually had experiences way back. Philip and I figured that out in the 90s, that we were Sirians. But if you ever have felt, as many or most of us probably do, that you don't quite belong here, that might be why. And this is one of the things you can explore in this course that is really fascinating. So I just had to bring it up because last time I brought it up and I thought, well, I'll just mention it. But people really were interested and discovered just the most amazing things. I'll talk about it more in the next time when we have the lab next week too, because it's fascinating. So
see if there are any comments or questions at this point, Jane.
Yeah. So, and we do appreciate your comments and questions. We also, because of the limited time, we also can talk about things in after hours. So anything anyone want to say now? Any questions, comments, anything?
Okay, well, we'll
I
have
guess we're
other
perfectly clear.
opportunities. Very good. So the next segment here is how you receive information in the records. Well, each of us is unique, of course, and that's going to give us a certain unique perspective and approach to the records and to our own self-development. And the key things that Jane and I like to emphasize that we often forget is that we're creators. You know, sometimes we think of ourselves, we get down in the dumps and we feel we're victims, but actually we are creators. And I think a nice framework or guideline for this idea of being a creator is the serenity prayer that probably most of you know, that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's a good boundary setting there of what you can do, which is a lot. And some of the things that really aren't our concerns, they send us off track. And when we go in the records, we can explore actually the serenity prayer in depth in a way of what we can do and what really is not of use to us or irrelevant. And this highlights the importance of opening your heart and following your own guidance. So the whole program, every class is about opening your heart and following your guidance, something which is which tends to go sort of against the counterculture in the mainstream, which is very left brain and linear and logical and determining what other people and authorities say. This is finding ourselves as our own authority, which is a wonderful thing to do that we all can do. And the records is and the oracles and the healing is an extraordinary resource for developing your intuition, which is how you open your heart. And another factor is when you connect with the higher dimensions, when you go into the Akashic records, which we're about to do in just a couple minutes here with Jane, it may not come in the way you, quote, think it will. It may not come. You may see a library or scrolls, or you may not. You may meet record keepers or Metatron, or you may not. You may get messages, or you may get images, or a sense or a feeling. So whatever it is, just be open to it, like you're investigating it with an open mind and an open heart. Actually, that's what you want to be doing. And that means to refrain from, this is the big one. Yes, what are we to refrain from? We probably already know the answer to analyzing. That's where the trust and that. Now, what does that mean? No, I don't get that. Now, does that mean this? Or maybe they're talking. By the time you've done that, you're out of the records. You've lost your connection. You can quickly get back. You know, it's like kind of falling down on your, well, on your butt or whatever. But getting up and just getting back in the records, getting back in the fight, getting back into the flow. So we all are subject to that. And Jane said the trust, because some of the things you get might be, now, what is that? You know, I'm seeing something that is very strange that, and you just follow it. It's a story. It's a feeling. And you let one thing after another, it's unfolding. You're following your intuition. Because if you analyze it, you're going to lose connection and get confused. Let's see. You want to keep your mind quiet. Stop the mind chatter as much as you can. I mean, if you do, that's fine. It's probably will happen. Just reconnect. And you're just wondering what's there. And you might say, am I there? Well, if you've ever been, if none of you have been in the Akashic records before, the truth is you probably have without realizing. Now, what does that mean? That means if you've been in a state of deep hypnosis intentionally, like maybe you've studied hypnosis, or just in life when you go into a deep state for one reason or another, and you can access the records. It may be rather indirect and not real specific and explicit like we're doing today in this course, but you've had those experiences of connecting with past lives and other higher dimensional connections and beings that are there. Because the Akashic records is in the Akash, the higher dimensional field, which has levels to it. And that's where records are. It's sometimes called the Akashic records, the universal library, the universal database that also is a memory bank, a cosmic library. And just be open to it. Jane, did I miss anything? Did you want to add anything to that, just about how to receive info in the records? And then I'll open it up for questions if anyone has any.
Well, I think what you said about being in the flow with the information is really important. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying about receiving information and allowing it, being willing to believe it means you do allow the flow of information to come through. So when I'm in the records, I'm just dictating whatever it is that I'm experiencing without any evaluation of whether it's true or not, just allowing it to come through. And then later, then I go back and I can say, well, gee, I want to research this, or I'm not sure about that. And I think that that's, as Philip suggested, if you start questioning it, you're going to lose the flow completely.
Yeah.
And just allowing it doesn't mean that you're buying into it. If you're
Right.
receiving something and it seems like it's completely outlandish, well, just allow it anyhow.
Yeah.
And then you can evaluate it later.
Yeah. See what you get. And it often is a lot more profound. It makes a lot more sense than I think it does when I'm there. Sometimes it is rather mind-blowing, like Jane's experience. Other times it's like, hey, it seems like I'm not getting anything. And I dictate it and I read it afterwards. I
Right.
go, wow, this was really profound. I didn't think anything was happening there. And
Yeah, and you're
that's
in an altered state, so it
right.
seems like it's just so normal. But then
Yeah,
when
it
you
seems
come
like,
back
yeah.
and read it later, it's
Oh,
like,
that's
oh wow,
obvious.
that actually was profound.
Yeah. So just to open it up to anyone's comments or questions thus far, and welcome to people we haven't said hello to, some new people and returning people. Hi, Pam. Hi, Andra. Margaret, hello.
Everyone.
M Mary has
Mary.
something. Go, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I'm getting a little tripped up on journaling and dictating. It's like if I'm in a deeper state, I'm supposed to be writing at the same time, or you just write, keep your eyes closed and then you just write. Is that what you do? Or and dictating, how you're doing that? Because it
Well, for
seems
me,
like
I just hit the dictate button on Word, and a
Yeah.
little blue circle comes up that says it's dictating, and then I just share what I'm experiencing, and that's
oh,
why I like doing that, because you don't have to be writing. I used to write, and it certainly is possible, and it becomes, I think, either doing it orally, or if you're writing, it also becomes like automatic. You can, what they call automatic writing, where you're allowing things to flow in. Uh, and if it's really whatever is comfortable, I find dictating it to be really great. Like I said, it doesn't come out perfect, but I'm okay with that. And one of the things I mentioned last time that is amazing is now I have dictations that go back for a few years, and I can actually just go into the files. I have all the files together. I separate them by month, my journals, I call them journals. I can go back and ask, well, I'll say like Lady Nada. Lady Nada was a big one for me. I can put Lady Nada in the search, and it will tell me all of the journals where the Lady Nada was mentioned, and I can go back to the first one and find out how I actually met her, even if I've forgotten, which is really wonderful to be able to do, to go back over these really highlights of things that have happened. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend dictating.
There are also cell
Someone, I
phone
think it might
apps.
have, I don't know if it was Pam, somebody mentioned last time you can dictate into your phone
Yeah,
too.
cell
I
phone
haven't done
apps.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are
I've done
apps.
that. Yeah, they're very good too. And Andra, it looks like Andra had something she wanted to say. Go ahead, Andra.
Well, I was just going to clarify. You guys are talking about doing this dictating and the text, voice to text afterwards when you're doing the analysis, correct?
No, no,
No,
it's
we're
during.
not.
It's
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I was saying. I just talk about what I'm
Well, I can't
experiencing.
find
I'll
that
say
button
like,
on my
now
screen.
I'm going into the records, and I say, and I'm breathing, and I'm there, and the record keepers are there,
Okay.
and I say everything that's happening.
I see. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah, and thanks for asking because that is it's an important distinction.
Yeah, and it's there in the word feature and the apps.
Yeah, it is if you're in, I have Word here opened.
I can
Let me
show
see. It's
people
if you're in on the, I guess, the home
here. I'll even show a
setting, then
screen
it's
of it.
off to the right. It says dictate. Or you can just also Google how to find dictate. Now I lost.
Let me see. So right there, if you can you see it on this? Is it on the screen now? No.
No.
Uh, where am I? So right here, can people
Yeah,
see
there
me
it is. Yeah,
right there?
when
You just
you're in the
press that.
home. Yeah.
I must have an
That's
old version. I don't have that
that
button.
word. Yeah.
So I'll just do it on
yeah.
my phone.
Yeah, do it on
Yeah.
your phone.
Thanks.
Okay.
I love it though. I love having it.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, and again, since this is new, it's some of it is a new learning, and it takes a little while to get comfortable. But I think you'll find it pretty easy to do once you practice.
Right. And I didn't have it when I first started in the record, so I don't have the full history, but I'm what I do have of it is certainly I'm grateful for having everything that I have.
So Jane, were we at you experiencing some of your experiences of the records? Is that where we were? Yeah.
Right, right. And it just to give, I don't know, a sense of what it might be like. Although, as Philip mentioned, and I've mentioned too, it's different for everybody. Uh, when I went into the records the first time, I saw a library. As some people, I remember, and I work with clients guiding them into the records too, which is something that we recommend for those who want to help other people, that you can actually guide them and they can experience their own records. Uh, I remember one client, she was at the door to the library. And so what you can do, and what I do with clients, is ask, well, what was the door like? And these are the kinds of things that you can focus on when you go into them today. So she had a very traditional, beautiful wooden door and entered into a beautiful library. It was like an antique, a very ancient kind of a place. Um, when I went into the library, I'm not sure it was ancient. It was kind of a circular space, with bookshelves all around it, and the ceiling was open. And this is something I've, from what I've seen with other people, that happens. I'm not sure if it's generally, but you're open to really all the way up to source. So you might notice that you can see the sky. Anyhow, there was a table where I sat. It was a wooden table, and I had a chair, and there were five record keepers. There still are. I still have five record keepers, and they all just stood in front of me, and then I would ask questions. And when I asked a question, generally what would happen, and some people receive books. You might receive a book. You might not even be in a library with my books in it. I know one client of mine, she was in this beautiful crystalline structure, and then when she asked a question, she would receive a crystal, and she would hold it and receive whatever it was from it. I always receive, or always had, generally in the beginning, received orbs of light, and I would embrace that energy, and it would give me whatever it is with that I was intended to receive. Now I guess they're mixing it up. Sometimes they give me little treasure chests or different things, um, and whatever it is, I'm embracing that energy, and it's going to take me someplace or give me an experience, or sometimes different beings show up. Like that's how I met one of the uh, goddesses who I is just this real favorite of mine named Amaryssus. She just showed up in the sky, and different ones have done that. Archangel Barachiel, um, several different ones, not a lot, but different things can happen. So you need to be open to whatever might occur and just allow your experience of it to unfold. Like, what is this, or who are you? And see what happens. as time went on, I went back, and then I was in a library, and I think this was the sixth dimension. I went into the eighth dimension library, and the books were further out. They were further away from me. So there was much more sky and less books, which was really interesting. Other than that, it seemed pretty similar. And I was there for a while, and again, just doing what I would do in the records. And then they told me that it was time for me to graduate to the 10th dimension. And that actually was, for me, and I think it's different for everybody. Some people might have an easier time of it. It was about being able to receive that high vibration of energy. I found it kind of nauseating at first. And they were guiding me through it, having the ability to raise my vibration so I could accept information at that level. And then I was in a place where it was like the books, they were several miles away. They're like this tiny little around the horizon, these little bookcases, and just the vastness and huge universe around me, which is what I experience now. Although now I don't have any bookcases anymore. It's just really the universe. And the table now is more like crystal. And I sit on a selenite seat, which is really nice and balancing. So it's just, again, about being open to what it is for you. And you might enter in the 10th dimension for all I know. I don't know. It's different for each of us, or the 8th dimension. And you don't have to be concerned about that either right away. You probably will just get a sense of it. But I think that people generally understand, or many do, that the records exist multidimensionally. So I wanted to just share that so that you have a sense of openness for whatever might happen for you. Like I said, it might not be a library. And I think a lot of that has to do with our heritage, like where you come from, because you relate to things in a certain way that is unique to who you are. And that has a lot to do also with starseed origin. So who knows? There are many sources of where we have come from. It just, to me, has been wondrous. It continues to be. And I guess, again, just allow.
Any comments or questions? A little interval here before we go on to the next segment. Taking it step by step here.
I
do
have one other. Yeah, I have one last thought about that. Your records contain all the information about your past, present, and future, and of course, it's a living library that's changing all the time. My experience is that it isn't like you go into the Akashic records and all of a sudden, boom, everything you're presented with everything. My experience is that you receive what you're ready for.
Right.
So it's a journey, just like anything else spiritually, and you'll receive what you're ready for, or what you're preparing to be ready for. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an important point too, and not expecting, well, why is it I don't know all of these things about the universe or whatever. It just comes over time.
Yeah, there's a natural, organic nature to it. Monique, did you have something you wanted to say there?
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly, since I've taken a class in the Akashic Records, maybe a slightly different methodology, I have a very distinct physical connection, sort of, pressure on my crown, my head always turning to the right, like almost like a internet connection.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I was wondering if that, I just thought I would share that, and if maybe there are other physical sensations other people could be looking for, because mine definitely feels physical. Maybe at the dimension I'm entering, I've never thought about that. That's illuminating. But
thought about that it feels physical, you mean?
That it feels physical, and or that I'm maybe entering at a different dimension. Maybe that will change over time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Could be an adjustment going on there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I didn't mention it. That's good. Might sound a little weird. A another thing that happens when I enter the library is they put a crown on my head. And this is not to say you're a queen for a day or anything. It actually is selenite. And it's a selenite crown, and it's for balancing. So I do have a feeling. I have a definite feeling of being there because I'm sitting on the selenite seat. I have this crown on my head, and I'm being balanced by it all. So I would say for me, that's true. Again, it's everyone is going to have their unique experience of it.
Yeah, for me,
That
it
would be
feels
mine.
very,
And thank you, Unique. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
We're
thank you.
always open too, where people, I know other people have gone into the records, just whatever you want to share. It's so fascinating and wondrous. And it's not just one thing.
for me, what part of the experience is usually a feeling of being relaxed and kind of floating and in sort of a timeless, spaceless place.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else want to share, who's had experiences, any kind of physical experience of it in their body?
It's really, I would think, energetic, an energetic experience.
Yeah, does boost my energy. That's true too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It feels, I actually call my records now, because it's more than the Akashic records to me. It's like where I go for everything. I call it my heavenly home. And it is, when I go there, there is a distinct sense of place and myself being there, how that feels to me, which is just wondrous.
Any other comments or questions there about physical sensations or anything else? Okay, so the next little segment before we have a journey and experience here is preparing your inquiry. This is a rather important part that may be missing in some people's experiences of the Akashic records. Is what do you do before you get there instead of just entering there? And entering there, you may find, has become relatively easy and straightforward. And I'll talk about some ways to do that again in a moment. But the idea is to have a focus. This is an important part. So in other words, if you were going to have an important meeting with someone, you'd want to be prepared. You'd want to have a sense of what, this is an important meeting. I don't want to just go in there without any preparation or any awareness or any focus to it. And this may be a small focus or a large one. If you're doing this regularly, it may be just, I'm checking in today with the records on how I can have a great day today, how I can have an optimal day. Or it could be big picture. Hey, this challenge is coming up again. What does it mean for me and my karma and my destiny and my big picture, my soul plan? So it could be on various scales. But regardless, you want to be very specific about your entry. And today we're just going to sort of explore and see what's in there, maybe get a gift, because it's more of an exploratory beginning experience. But as you're going into it, to get the most out of it, you do want to have a certain specificity, because if you're too general, you're going to get a very general, maybe murky response. That's hard to integrate, or may not be, hard to pin a meaning to it, or really not go very deep into what you want, because you don't have anything specific in mind.
Right.
So having questions that begin with what or how tends to be a good, just a general guideline there. Let me show you in your resource section. There you go. The more opportunities. There's questions to ask, and these are we did that originally with oracles, but it's the same thing for the Akashic records. There are actually specific questions, quite a few of them, that you can ask.
Just some ideas.
Give you some ideas.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, a good one I like to do for a daily question is, how can I optimize today? That's a how question. What can I learn about myself from this relationship? How might it influence me, this job, if I take this job? What things to avoid are yes, no questions. Should I take this job? Should I commit to this relationship? That's yes, no, right? That's very limiting. And life is much more complex and subtle than that. And there's a lot of possibilities and options for you too. So that's why that doesn't really work very well. Another thing to avoid, if possible, is time limits on goals. When is the relationship going to show up? When is this going to manifest? So sometimes there are natural time frames on things. But generally speaking, it's good to be more open-ended, because if you're believing in the divine order, your higher self knows, but your limited mind that's trying to figure it out down here at 3D Earth does not know. That's kind of an interesting humility. Yes, use your mind, your analysis after you leave the records. Research, figure things out, evaluate, try to put pieces together, sure, but not while you're there. So avoid yes, no questions, use more how, what questions.
Or statements like, I'd like insights. I generally say, I'd like insights on whatever. And I think things,
open-ended.
and there are things you may have wondered about, like one of the ones I asked, which became a really big thing, was why is it, I'd like insights on why it is that I've always felt this close relationship with Jesus. And this is not, I'm not promoting any religion or anything. We have a delivery if you hear the crazy ones. But another thing I wanted to mention also is we're going to be using oracles. And when you might be asking something of the oracle that's going to then take you into provide a question that you would have in the records, like, how can I find out more about this insight that I received in the reading? And that's why we include the oracles, which becomes really magical when you have all of them kind of functioning together.
Yeah. I think, just that made me think of, Jane, that like one of the downsides of oracles, like psychic readings, is it replaces the truth within yourself. So if you just get a card and you take it like in a left brain way, oh, it's saying, let's see, I have a card here. It's saying the lower world, that's a card. So, okay, I guess I'm in the lower world now. Okay, I guess I'm stuck in the lower world. And you go into a kind of a mind meandering associative thinking. Yeah, that is displacing your higher self and your higher wisdom. But if you open up to it and open your heart and your intuition, and if you even magnify it by being in the records and seeing what the lower worlds, to use that card, means in the records, you're going to get,
like, what you get those ahas, like, oh, that's interesting. I had never thought of that before. But it seems like, wow, this is something I'd like to explore more.
Yeah, it doesn't dictate the truth for you. It gives you clues and insights and portals into your truth.
Right.
And it's remarkably
and things you might
accurate.
not have thought of, because so much is hidden.
At least with the special oracle decks we're using for this course, and each of the courses has different decks, but we've just found them to be reliably profound and accurate, and they're different for different people. They give you what you need in the right way for you to find your own inner truth.
Yeah.
So going just forward, about just a few more points about your inquiries, phrasing them. Just have one inquiry instead of saying I'm going to ask 2 or 3 things. Now that gets confusing. Keep it to one. That'll be enough. We mentioned in the last overview class 4 ways to approach the records. There's actually more than 4 ways, but 4 basic ways. A guided visualization. We're going to do one in just a couple minutes here. A journey into the higher realms. There could be a sacred prayer, and there may be combinations too. Sacred prayer, and there may be a closing prayer. It's good to have an intentional opening and ending, by the way, when you're in and ending the record, so you have a distinction, like I'm now entering the records, and now I'm grounding, I'm coming back from the records. Some people use, as we mentioned, hypnosis or guided meditation. This may be rather lengthy, maybe indirect, but you can get there too. And some people, and I like to do this too, is just intend to be in the records. And this may or may not work for you. It may be a more
at first. And
as you get more into this in the course, that may become pretty natural for you too.
Yeah, because that's what I do now. I just intend to be there because I've made the trip so many times. I know how it is, and I know where I'm going, and I'm just there. So that's after some time.
So before we have a little exploratory direct experience here, Jane's going to lead us with it. kind of check out what we can find in the records for us today and maybe get a gift, acclimate to it. Are there any other comments or questions before we journey together? All right. Jane?
Okay. Oh, someone's saying something.
Hi.
Yes.
Oh, Maria.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm under the weather, so it's hard for me to talk a little bit, but I wanted to ask, do we have an inquiry now as you're going to guide us into it?
Well, I think the purpose, generally, what we're thinking for today is that the purpose is just to be there and explore what's there. See if you have record keepers or how, just
Okay.
to poke around and just ask. I think we're going to ask for a welcome gift
Oh, okay.
and see what we receive. So we're taking it one step at a time. And it is just allowing the time to feel the space, to see what it looks like in your inner vision. If you're seeing, just to explore it. We're going to explore it. That's the main thing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And you never know. Sometimes someone shows up and says something, so can't stop it. And my intention also is to invite Archangel Metatron, because he is also the angelic keeper of the records. So he is like a wonderful guide for us to have to the records. And I'm going to also invite Archangel Michael, so we can always feel like we're protected by his energy, and that nothing that is not of the light can come to us. And of course, that is our intention. It is a sacred experience, and the only thing that we're interested in is what is love and what is light and what is true for us spiritually. So those are the main things. As Philip suggested, we're going to do a guided visualization, and this is the approach that we came to because it is archetypal in nature. So we're going to rise up. We did this already last time in the overview class, and those who know us, we do this a lot. We start by going up to a mountaintop, and just the process of imagining yourself going up to a mountaintop raises your vibration. So you'll have a more elevated perspective when you get there, and then we're going to go beyond there. So it all has intention with it, and of course we do provide also options for how you enter. You'll see. So we're going to start as we generally do, with breathing and bringing ourselves a little more into balance, because we want to be as present as possible for this experience, right? We want to bring ourselves fully to it. So we'll start that now. And you begin by closing your eyes, presuming you're in a safe place to do so, not driving. And again, breathing in love and light from the universe around you. Maybe with an awareness that you're surrounded by angels and masters and other beings of light who are here to guide you and protect you. Just breathing in that beautiful light into your body. And all around you, just allowing it to flow around you. As you exhale, releasing any energy that is not serving you now, any dense energy. And asking that any energy that is not your own, ask it to leave your field now. In other words, that leave your body and that beautiful ball of light that's around you. Just ask any energy that's not your own, that's there, picked up from other people, places, and times. Send it back where it came from, lovingly, with your intention. And this makes more space for you to be present. In a similar way, you can ask for any parts of yourself that you have left in other times with other people and other places to come back to you. And you might feel that energy coming in. Again, feeling like you're more present in your body. And you might sense that. It might feel like, well, gee, I do feel more present than I did a few minutes ago. I generally do when I do this. And then breathing in lighter energy so we can feel ourselves becoming light enough that we can float beautifully, wonderfully, perfectly. Floating up to a beautiful mystical mountaintop. This is a mountaintop that's so high up it's above the mass consciousness thought forms. So just rising up. And this place, it might be a special place you already know, or it might be a place that you become familiar with too, that is a place where you can receive higher guidance too. Because as you rise up and have also a more expansive view of the universe and the world around you, that expands your perspective too. So this is expanding the mind. We're opening the body energetically. We're also expanding out the energy field, allowing ourselves to occupy more space. Because we tend to hold ourselves in, we tend to contract ourselves because we have to fit into something, whatever it is, that whatever box we're in here. This is a time when you can just allow yourself to expand, opening to the love in your heart and allowing that love to radiate from your heart all around you, filling all the cells of your body with love. And again, allowing it to radiate out, filling your energy field. And now we're going to invite Archangel Metatron to be with us again, receiving blessings of higher love, divine love from him. And similarly, we want to invite Archangel Michael to join us, to protect us, to give us strength on the journey. And clarify our intention, to have that in your mind, to have that pure intention to receive the truth, the wisdom, the guidance, whatever is there for you. Activations of energy. You might even receive an activation of energy while you're there today. Just have a pure intention to receive what is intended for you. And open to that belief and trust in the process. Being in a place where you're connected with that truth in your heart. And then as we take the next step on the journey, we're going to rise again through the atmosphere. And when I first did this, there are different ways you can imagine rising up we're going to rise up into the stars. I used to imagine at first, it was like Jack and the Beanstalk, like there's this beanstalk that takes me up into the higher dimensions. Or you might feel like you go up on a column of light or an elevator. Just whatever feels right to you, that you're going to go through the atmosphere where you focus. Now you're away from Earth and you're out in the stars. So the stars are all around you. And just notice the beauty and the wonder of it. And what you might notice, and what the intention is that there is a star there that is actually your Akashic library, where your Akashic records are. And it's going to light up there in the sky. And what you can do now is allow yourself to go to that star. And when you arrive, you will be arriving at your Akashic library. If you find yourself at the door of the library, notice what's there and allow yourself to enter. Or you might just feel you enter right into the library. And you may sense also that you're being surrounded by guides and masters and angels who are here to support you. A lot of it is invisible, but we are surrounded by beings of light. And you might sense their presence also supporting you and keeping you safe, surrounding you more with love. So arriving in the library, just notice what you notice. You might notice what you feel energetically. How does it feel in that library? And you might notice what you see with your inner vision. Are there books? Is it something else for you? Just notice whatever it is the thing that has the greatest meaning for you because of who you are uniquely. It might feel ancient. It might feel completely new and wondrous in its own way. It's all wondrous, of course, at this level. Maybe there's a chair and a table where you can sit in your library. I'll call it a library, and if it's not a library with books, that's okay. But there might be a place where you can rest. That is your place in that library. And again, as you notice what's around you, you might also notice what's above you and what's below you, the floor. Is there actually a floor? And are there record keepers here for you? When I arrive, the record keepers appear before me. And there may or may not be record keepers for you in your experience of it. Whatever it is fine. Just feel what it is, because this is your space. And that's one of the most important things, is that this is the space in the higher dimensions that is most supportive of you being you. It is your library. And of course, we can enter libraries to support other people. We'll talk about that later. We can enter a library for the collective. This is your library. And just feel what it feels like to be in a place where there's no resistance to you for being you. And while I did say we weren't going to necessarily have an inquiry, I think, Philip, would you like to share what you say to introduce or to enter into, to say you're opening your records? I think that would be a wonderful thing to do, and just say we're opening the records now.
Yes. And what you can say is, I request and insert your name to enter the records and receive everything for my highest good and for everyone's highest good. So the key things as I enter the records, giving your name for my highest good, for everyone's highest good.
And as you do that, notice if anything happens, and state your intention of receiving a gift from your records, which may be, who knows what it's going to be. It might be some information, it might be energy, it might be something that is a representation of something that you could bring back that would be physical for you for a reason. And just notice what that would be, what that gift is, and why it is what it is. And while we're here, I don't know if this feels possible to you, or if you have an interest in it, but I want to offer the opportunity for anyone who feels like you want to share with the group what you are experiencing to do so. From this place of really beauty, magnificence, peace, place that's here for you. Something that maybe you'd like to share. If there is anything you'd like to share.
Just feel free to voice that if you choose. You unmute yourself.
And we can also have sharings when we come back from the library.
That would be good.
So it's David, and
Hi, David.
no floor, no ceiling, kind of floating. But and no books, but it's like energetic pieces that are more like cubes.
Mm-hmm.
And the gift was just come here often, that this is, this is extraordinarily high vibration and a good place to live life from, is in constant connection with this.
Right, with your own soul's truth and wisdom, and
Yeah.
thank you. I saw something new, a magnificent angel, a huge angel who said that she wants to contact me. It's really, that's a gift. Anyone else want to share anything? Okay, well, I think that what we'll do is we'll come back. We'll return from the records. And Philip, would you like to share how you close the records and end that process?
Yes, I just make a distinct request that now I am leaving the records. I think if I've met beings that had conversations, or just thank the records themselves, thank you for the experience. And I'm now coming down back into my body, just coming back down. If you came up a certain way, you may want to go back the same way you came up, coming back down in your body, feeling more grounded, feeling your feet on the floor, knowing you can use this experience any way you want. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, feeling grounded, refreshed, alert, and using this experience in the best way for you.
Thank you. It felt wonderful to me. And that is how it is. It's just it's almost an indescribably magnificent place to be.
Yeah.
And thank you, David.
And sometimes it seems, thanks, David. And sometimes it may seem at first like nothing is going on, that it just seems, this is kind of interesting. And then when you come back, you may now be getting the sense that you were actually in a very altered state. And it may be easier for a few of you to share now. I know that when you're in the state, could be challenging to, especially this first time, to speak while you're in there. Anyone want to share anything, experience? Yes, Sunny, hi.
Hi, Sunny.
Hi. Sorry, I was a little late. I had wrap-up meeting. I teach the college, so I didn't know I have a meeting today. But so in the beginning, it was hard for me to kind of like drop in, because I just rushed and I was just happy to make it. And it took me a little while. It's just, I usually drop in like immediately. But I got within the first, not even a minute, I was on top of this mountain that was really ice. Everything was ice. And my feet were on ice, but I was not afraid. I usually, when I go up mountaintop, it's green and everything. And then as you invoked Archangel Michael and Archangel Metatron, actually Archangel Metatron was to my right and my Archangel Michael to my left. And when we were going up, they were holding my hands and we went up, and it was really beautiful. And I arrived my star barefoot again, and there were guardians that were standing on either side. It was like a little walkway that and when I walked in, and I've taken the class with you guys before, it's amazing how things change this time around. I actually saw different sections. It was a part regarding being a mother, being a daughter, being a, at work, so different sections. And the main section was relationships. And that's what I just keep working on. And so I was guided to that area, and and this beautiful, everything was gold. Lion came and I sat on his back, and we went through a screen, like a movie screen, and I saw, experience, I got the messages, and the message and gift for me was I had an angel put a ring on my finger and said, love yourself, love yourself. And Jesus came. And actually, Jesus came and said, alongside the angel, said, love yourself. So that is my main message, to just learn to love myself rather than looking for love outside myself.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
And just a general note for all of you, you may have had a really vivid experience like Sunny did, or it may have been just I kind of got something, I got a sense, a hit, a beginning introduction. Wherever you are, it's just the right place for you today. And the more you do it, the more you will be able to tap into things and perceive what's going on there.
Right. Anyone else want to share?
I just also wanted to share that it was mostly what I was aware of was just how I felt, and how, how that vibration was just extraordinarily high. And there was also, I don't know, I guess I'd call it a ringing in my ears, but not exactly. It was just kind of hearing the cosmos almost, and it got really, really high.
Right. Yeah.
And
Well, that's great.
as we were coming back, it stepped down, a little quieter.
Right.
So that was kind of neat too. Yeah.
Wonderful. And it is these vibrations, being in these vibrations, it does change you in, I think, wonderful ways. And of course the angels. And just by the way, I want to make sure I thank Archangel Metatron and Michael for being with us. I'm so deeply grateful for them. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Margaret.
Yes.
I took this course before, and I remember I had the same, very similar experience. So now I'm kind of starting to expect that this might be part of my record experience. But it's weird because I almost feel like I go to sleep, and your voice, Jane, becomes more like a wah, 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 It just becomes this sort of like rhythmic sort of experience for me. And it becomes all about a vibration. And I don't see anything. I'm aware of, like, I know that there were other beings there with me, and I know that there was something to do with scrolls. and but the whole time it's like I'm saying focus on Jane, and then I realized if I tried to do that, it would actually pull me out. Like if I tried to make sense of it, wah wah wah, it would pull me out. And then I realized, no, I just have to allow that to happen. And so it all becomes, it's like I feel like I'm just vibrating, like rocking here with this sort of. And then the interesting part was I suddenly realized that there were breaks where you weren't talking, but I was still sort of feeling and hearing that energy. And I just surrendered to it. And then when we were coming back, I had like on the way back, I suddenly had flashes of images, and I can't tell you what any of them are now, but they were very vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard again, and this happened to me before. I'm not quite ready to understand what I'm experiencing. It's not time yet. So I want to get there though. I want to decode the wow, 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 wow. So
Right.
thank you. It was still a wonderful experience though. Let me just cap that all off.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. And it is an experience of adjusting to a vibration for sure. Anybody else? Yes, Benita, hi.
Hi. So I got up to the mountaintop. It was a plaza with black and
Plaza.
white tiles with flower boxes around the edges and a stone bench. I went up to the records and I went through into a dark doorway with a wooden frame, and there were Akashic record beings around me walking down the hallway. And we went into a big room, which was a slate floor with a dome ceiling with like gold arches and then paintings, I guess, in between those. And there was an overstuffed chair for me with a cup of tea.
That's nice.
Apparently they know me. There were books, but they were invisible. I knew they were there, but they weren't there. And I was given a bouquet of flowers, kind of like a welcoming gift, a coming to life, springing to life. And yeah, so it was nice, but be fun to go back and figure it all out, like Margaret.
Right.
Bonita, I noticed you were referring to some notes. Did you take those notes while you were in there or afterwards?
No, I took them afterwards while you guys were talking.
Okay.
I think another part of it for me is to have the intention that you can open your eyes and still be in your records.
Right.
And I mean, some actually trainers suggest that you only read your records with your eyes open, which is interesting. And I don't do that. I have a lot that I envision, but whatever feels right to you is what I would do. But I do think it's helpful to tell yourself that you can actually open your eyes if you want to write something down or whatever. You can still be in that place because you haven't gone anywhere. It's just a different dimension that you're going into, and then you can close your eyes and be back there. And it might take some practice, but I think that's a very helpful thing to be able to do. Right. And you can do it. A lot of it is belief. What you believe is possible.
Right.
If I'm working with somebody, I will close my eyes, get information, open my eyes, talk to them, close my eyes, get more information. I think it just shuts out the distractions for me if I have my eyes closed.
Right.
But yeah, that's no problem to just go back in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing to aim for if it's all new to you.
Yeah. Again, these are just possibilities. Don't compare yourself to other people. I saw a beautiful sapphire when I went there with Jane's Akashic Records journey a moment ago, and it was very beautiful, generating love and creativity and peace. And I'm going to follow up on that image. Something too, which I think you'll find very valuable in your resource section here at Class 2 handouts and recordings. Class 1, accessing the Akashic Records notes. This is a very good little 1.5-page summary of some of the things Jane was doing and a few other suggestions. It's a really good way of, rather than having just this little strict script that you follow word for word, which can be okay, but rather limiting overall. It's a nice way of conveying the ways of getting into the records that Jane just shared. So we have just a couple more things briefly before we conclude Class 1. And thanks everyone for your attention. And Jane will stay for after hours if you have things you want to ask or talk about. I wrote down this little sort of summary of what we did. See if this sounds about right, Jane. Have a focus, then start to relax and breathe. We did, in this case, a visualization of going to that mystic mountaintop. Let things unfold once you get there. Just open to receive what you get, images or feelings, words. Let it flow. And then after you are sitting with it, exploring with it, what we did, I mean, if we have a more specific focus like we will in future classes, you would pursue that. When you feel complete, just say you're closing it. You know, I'm closing the records for Philip Montrose and coming back down. Thank you, guides. Thank you, Akashic Records, coming back down in your seat, feeling very grounded. And then when you come back, like we are right now, you can start to reflect, evaluate, make notes. Some things I want to follow up, like on my Sapphire. That's something I'm going to do when I go to the records again.
Right, and from here you can explore. You can return and then actually make an inquiry. So you have everything you need now to start to practice that. And we will be back together again next week, of course, for the lab, which there will be more information. I'll be talking a little bit about oracles too, and then suggesting something for the records with that.
And again, generally when you go there, you get confirmation or revelation. I had never seen that Sapphire before to me, so that was something completely new, for example. And you may need to create some space and some time to integrate it. And Jane said you may go to Google or another search engine to get more information. And it may take a little while or not to integrate. And you can follow up, and we often follow up as we do with oracles, to get more information. Like, wow, you know, this is leading me to the next reading, to the next oracle reading, to the next Akashic record visiting. So one thing leads to the next. Is very beautiful and organic that way. And sometimes there is clearing to do, like, wow, I'm getting into some uncomfortable areas, and that's where the energy healing, which you know, or we're teaching in this course, would come in.
Right. We'll be doing, I think next week we're going to do the miracle reframe, which some of you already know. It's a very wonderful, easy healing process. So
we also have in your resource page in the more opportunities how to do holistic EFT if you don't know how to do that. So we have a little quick starter kit for EFT for reviewing it. And we have some holistic approaches to that. So you can check that out too if you're drawn to that for healing. So let me see. I guess, Jane, maybe probably not time for an oracle card, or I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe
draw a card. I'm going to draw a card. Do a very quick thing, which we could spend a whole hour on what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it more in 2 or 3 minutes or less. So
he's just going to draw a card for all of us.
Yeah, and this is from the Mystical Shaman Oracle, which is an extraordinary deck. And we'll go more into that, but this is just a little taster and kind of relate things. So the focus of the oracle reading, just like the focus of the Akashic records, which can combine, as we mentioned, is going to be, what should we say, how can I optimize this class? How can I optimize this course?
Well, just a message for the collective of us here. You know,
message for us in this class.
Right.
You know, and what we're studying and what we're doing here together, because it is an individual and group awakenings, this course. So let me draw the card that's going to be right, and I'll read you the beloved.
Wow.
A little
beautiful
tingling there. I'll read you the brief description in the book of the beloved. I don't know if you can see it. There's a heart and hands holding it. They're very beautiful images in this deck too. And hopefully you have a chance to order this deck too, because you'll get a lot out of it. So the essence of the card, according to the guidebook, is about the beloved, is the recognition of spirit in another and moving toward spirit through the other. It's when the divine appears in the form of our child, our partner, our friend. I'm going to put in our classmate.
Right, yeah.
And we experience being in love. As we grow, we start to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality with their divine nature.
And I think that makes so much sense, what we call the magnificence to just look around at us here and see the magnificence in one another. And also appreciate the opportunities that we have with each other. Because another part that I failed to mention today actually, but was very, very important for me when I was going through kind of those first things. And of course, I always have Philip too. I would have experiences and I would share them with, I had a couple friends who I would talk to. And I think that was very helpful to be able to talk with other people about what I was experiencing. And you have each other. We connect you if you want to connect. You will get the class list and you can connect with each other if you're not sure.
We'll send it out in the next couple of days. Look for that class list.
Yeah. But I think that's such a beautiful message for us.
So Jane, in concluding about following up as we're closing today, class 1.
Right. We will be, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing the miracle reframe with EFT next time. That is a healing process. And for those who know it, Philip and I actually were talking about it earlier in the coaching and healing program, the class that we had yesterday. We did it. It's so powerful. It's a really wonderful process. I also, again, want to encourage you to go back into your records. It is adjusting to the energy and just start to ask inquiries, see what happens. And be patient because you'll get what you're ready for. Not everything all at once, which is good. Mm-hmm. There were times when I felt like I was crazy, even just getting little bits at a time. So just be grateful for what you have and take the time and energy to integrate it. If something scares you or whatever happens with it, then that's something that you need to allow time and healing for, or just accepting it and understanding it. Maybe you don't even understand because what you're understanding is more about your divine nature. Yeah.
Feel free to send us an email, Jane or myself, or even we can set up a time to talk too if you'd like to go further into something specifically, that's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Right. And next week, I mentioned in the first lab, I'm going to introduce the use of Oracle and Tarot cards, which is an exciting combination with the records. I recommend for those of you, if they're new to you, to read the booklet that we have on your resource page, and particularly get to know about the part about how to prepare your decks. And you can start with that. We recommend how you can prepare them. It's interesting. A lot of the Oracle decks themselves have in their guidebooks, they have information on how to prepare them. And I looked up the Akashic Tarot, the Mystical Shaman, and the Good Tarot. Those three, none of them have information on how to prepare your how to get started and how to prepare your decks, which is interesting. If you did get the Goddess one, it has information, and it even has a little reading you can do to kind of bless the relationship that you're creating with your decks.
The Goddess deck, that's recommended but optional. Sacred Mothers and Goddesses.
But if you happen to have it, it has a really wonderful introduction for just connecting with your deck. And one of the things that I do, which we mention in our booklet, is I use selenite to balance, and then I do go through every card in the deck, and I just touch them. I look at them. I'm not trying to memorize anything. I'm just looking at them and going through the whole deck. You're touching the cards. You're connecting with the cards, and there's something in there about how you can pick out kind of a favorite one and one that is maybe the biggest lesson for you. So there are things you can do this week just to, if this is new to you, and if not, just whatever might be new for you, feel right to you, to get started with the oracles, because we're using them. These are sacred tools for us to connect more with our own truth. So we're amazed. We're continuously amazed by them.
Yeah, go at your own rate. This is a journey. It's not a sprint here. And things will continue to come together with ahas and breakthroughs as you continue on in the course and the program.
Right, right. And as Philip mentioned, I'm going to stay around for after hours. So if anybody has more questions, I think we're right about the end of our time. So we can close as a group, and I'll just stay for anybody who wants to chat.
Yeah, thanks everyone for your attention, and it's been great being with you. And it's optional if you want to stick around, and this is an exciting